Anger and the fear of losing control. What anger really means, anger is not your strength. It is the moment your system feels that it is about to lose control of the situation, and it panics. The panic does not look like fear. It looks like power. But anger is simply fear that has nowhere to go. Stay here. Because this lesson is not here to explain anger. It is here to return you to the part of yourself that never needed anger to stay whole in the first place. Part 1. The inner experience of losing control. Before anger appears, something else happens first. There is a quiet moment inside the body where you feel that the situation is slipping away from you. You feel smaller, less certain, less safe. Your chest tightens. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your thoughts speed up. And in that instant, your nervous system searches for a way to feel stable again. That is where anger begins. Not in what happened outside you, in what started collapsing inside you. Anger is your system's way of saying, I need to feel solid right now, or I will fall apart. It is not a moral failure, it is an attempt at self-preservation. But most people misunderstand that. They think anger is something they choose. It is not. It is something that takes over when they feel cornered. Part 2. Why the need to control becomes so strong. When you feel in control, you feel like you exist. When you feel out of control, you feel like you are disappearing. That is the hidden psychology of anger. It is not about the other person. It is about the feeling that your inner position is unstable. You want to correct the situation, so you can feel grounded again. You want to be heard, so you can feel visible. You want to be right, so you can feel safe. So anger is not born from aggression. It is born from the fear of losing your place in the moment. The need to control is simply the need to feel anchored, and anger is the mind's fastest tool for trying to restore that anchoring. Part 3. What anger looks like in real life. Let's make this real. You're driving. Someone cuts in front of you. The body reacts instantly. You feel heat in your chest. Your jaw tightens. Your mind says, that was wrong. And in a second, you are filled with anger. But look deeper. What happened first was not anger. It was the feeling that the road became unsafe, that you lost control of your environment, and anger came to restore the feeling of power. The anger wasn't about them. It was about you needing to feel stable again. Same in relationships. Your partner says something that feels dismissive. Your system does not get angry first. It gets hurt. It feels unseen. Then anger comes to defend that hurt. Because anger feels stronger than vulnerability. It feels safer to attack than to feel small. Anger is just the nervous system's armor against inner collapse. Part 4. The difference between control and authority. Here is a critical distinction. Control is when you try to force reality to change so you can feel safe. Authority is when you remain stable, even if reality doesn't change. Anger is the tool of control. Presence is the tool of authority. The person who needs anger has already lost their ground. The person who can stay with the feeling has already found it. The goal is not to become passive. The goal is to become anchored. Because anchored people don't need anger to feel strong. They feel strong from the inside first. And then, they act calmly. Part 5. The hidden cost of anger. Every time you react in anger, you don't just hurt the situation. You teach your own nervous system that it cannot survive intensity without exploding. You reinforce helplessness. You reinforce instability. And slowly, you begin to believe that your only way to feel powerful is to become angry. That is not strength. That is dependency. The more you rely on anger, the weaker your internal authority becomes. Because the body learns, if I feel unstable, I must react. Instead of learning, if I feel unstable, I can stay. Staying is strength. Reacting is collapse. Part 6. How to recognize anger before it takes over. Anger never appears out of nowhere. It always has a physical beginning, a shift in breath, a tightening in the shoulders, a pressure in the throat, a surge in the chest. That is the moment you still have choice. If you catch the sensation before the story forms, you stay in alignment. If you let the story take over, anger takes the wheel. The skill is not stopping anger. The skill is noticing the body first. Part 7. The practical rescue tool. Here is the technique. When anger rises, pause. Feel the sensation in your body. Do not move. Do not speak. Do not justify. Just hold the feeling for 5 seconds. 5. That is enough for the nervous system to settle, and for clarity to return. This is not suppression. This is power, because you are no longer reacting from fear. You are allowing fear to pass through you without losing position. That is authority. Part 8. The transformation. From anger to clarity. Once you can hold anger, it stops controlling you. It becomes information. You see what was hurt. You understand what felt threatened. You gain emotional distance from the event. And from that distance, you can respond calmly. That is the moment you return to yourself. That is relief. You don't become weaker. You become stable. Part 9. The truth about yourself. You are not an angry person. You are a person who has moments of feeling ungrounded and unsafe. And anger is simply your system's way of asking for stability. When you give yourself that stability, anger loses its urgency. You don't need to erase it. You need to understand it. And once it is understood, it begins to soften on its own. Part 10. The return to center. You don't need to dominate life to feel safe. You need to remain present inside yourself. That is strength. That is authority. That is rescue. Because the moment you can stay with your own intensity, without reacting, you are no longer drowning in emotion. You are standing inside it. This is inner signal. Let it settle.